Hello everyone, in today's video, I'm going to be giving a full flight review of A&E's business class from San Francisco to Tokyo Narita on their Boeing 777-300. I originally booked seats for premium economy, however when I got to the airport, I got upgraded to business class for only $450, so make sure to watch the full video to hear the story on how that happened and how you could possibly get that to happen to you as well. So let's get the video started. Here is the United Polaris Lounge, and it is included for all passengers in A&E's business class. I love the sleek marble entrance, and there's a sign explaining which passengers can use the lounge. This lounge is huge, and there are 4 different areas. This is one of the resting areas in the lounge, and it was decently crowded, but there were still seats available, and I love the view from the big glass windows because you can see all the planes outside. Then it was off to the dining area. You first passed by some personal cubicles that people often like to use for work. Then you passed by a really nice looking bar where they serve a lot of alcoholic drinks that look quite expensive and fancy, but of course you don't have to pay for it since you're already at the lounge. Just past that was the buffet, and it was all you can eat buffet. They had hot food as well as cold food. And then at the very end, they have the restaurant, which had a long line, and it was a 45-minute wait that day, so I realized I wouldn't have actually time to eat there, but it's definitely a place that people love to go to. I just got to the Polaris Lounge now, and it looks incredible. Today is a super busy day, but what I think is really positive is despite the fact that almost all the tables are filled, it's still really quiet and very peaceful in here. So if you're a business person trying to get some work done, or just trying to grab a quick bite to eat, it's actually quite a comfortable environment in here. Let's take a quick look at the breakfast buffet right now. Right here they have some pastries that looks like croissants and other similar items. There's also a fruit bar with a variety of fresh fruit, and they have a yogurt bar with toppings. There's also your standard bagels and bread. They have a variety of juices. They had a variety of hot food items, classic items such as eggs, sausage, and bacon, but they were almost wiped out by the time I got there because it was so popular. I just got some food. I got a plate full of savory food. I got some bacon, I got a vegetable frittata, I got egg whites, I got scrambled eggs, and I got a little bit of hash browns. So let's just dig in. I'm gonna start off with a little bit of bacon, and it looks really thin and crispy. It looks wonderful. Wow, that bacon is incredible. It's nice and thin, and that is the crunchiest bacon I've ever had. This is even crunchier than fresh bacon I would make at home. So this is some incredible bacon, especially for a breakfast buffet. Now for the scrambled eggs, and these just look perfectly cooked. When I came, there's barely any left because they're so popular, and they definitely bring out food. They brought out some more scrambled eggs right afterwards, so you don't have to worry about them running out. And despite the fact there wasn't much left, they're still hot, and they look perfectly cooked, nice and creamy, and this fluffy as well. I love how fluffy those eggs are. They're really nice and fluffy and perfectly cooked, nice and creamy as you taste it, and it's nice and set through, not too runny, and you definitely can tell they're obviously using real eggs, no sort of fake egg. It just tastes really nice and fresh. On the topic of eggs, let's go ahead and try the egg white as well. The egg whites are really nice and fluffy. You can definitely tell that they've been whipped up before they're cooked, so they have a light texture, almost like meringue, just melts in your mouth and has a very subtle taste compared to scrambled eggs. Next, I'm going to be trying the roasted vegetable frittata. It just looks like a little bit of scrambled eggs topped with some fresh roasted squash on top. I definitely noticed a trend here at the United Polaris Lounge. They just do their eggs so well here. Again, even though it's been baked, it's still really fluffy and perfectly cooked. And I love the roasted vegetables on top. They really add a nice flavor, and it tastes a little bit healthy as well. It's nice to get your veggies in. For my second plate, I got a bit of fruit. All their fruit looks really fresh. I just got some strawberries, pineapple, and melon. And you know you can really never go wrong with fresh fruit at breakfast. I think the best thing about this buffet is there's so much variety, and as we speak, they're transitioning now from breakfast to lunch, and it's just before 11 a.m. It's around 10:50, so I think they start their lunch service pretty soon then. The lunch food looks pretty decent. I think a majority of it is sandwiches and salad, so it looks pretty simple, but everything does look fresh and well put together. And the best way for me to describe it is I feel like this is sort of like a casual restaurant that you would get at a nice resort. So all the food's gonna be pretty high quality and it looks pretty fresh, but it's just very simple. For the hot food, I would say I have the same outlook on it as the cold food. It's still decent quality, but it's not super fancy. It just reminds me again of a casual restaurant you would find at a nice hotel resort. So it's definitely decent, but it's not fancy. I would like to try some more of the lunch food, but I'm quite full and I definitely want to save room for the business class food on ANA because I've heard it's really good, but I did try a little bit of dessert. I got myself a lemon bar and a donut. So let's start off with a lemon bar. I love any sort of lemon flavored dessert. The lemon bar is decent. It has a really strong tart lemon flavor, and then you get a really nice buttery crust. Personally, it's just a little bit on the sweet side for me. It is really quite sweet, especially because it's topped off with a lot of powdered sugar. The donut looks sort of like a cake donut. It looks really nice and fluffy, but it does look a little bit dry in the middle, and I feel like it might be a baked donut because it doesn't look super greasy or anything on the outside. The donut's just alright as well. It's a cake donut. It's nice and sweet. This time it's not overly sweet, which I do appreciate. And it's topped off with a little bit of semi-sweet chocolate, but personally, I feel like it's a little bit plain and not super unique, but it does go good with a good cup of coffee. Alright, I'm pretty much done here now at the lounge. I'm just gonna rest here for a few more minutes, and then we are gonna board our flight, and I cannot wait for my first business class experience. When I got to the gate area, it was absolutely packed, so that is another reason that I love the lounge. Now that I made it to my seat, I'll see you again after takeoff.
Come fly with me, let's fly away. Let's fly. Perfect day, perfect day, perfect.
Dear passengers, we are now ready to take off. Please securely fasten your seatbelts.
Perfect day, perfect day, perfect day, perfect day. Perfect day, perfect day, perfect day.
We just reached cruising altitude, and so far the service has been fantastic and everything has moved very quickly. Once I got seated, I had a question for the flight attendant about where I should put all my amenities since they were on my seat. And then she was so helpful and she actually put them in an overhead bin for me. And that's what I love about this seat, is that you have overhead bins just for yourself. So I think that's a really nice touch. And the flight attendant was super helpful because I told her, oh, I can put it in the overhead bin myself. And she said, oh, no, I can help you. So she put every single item into the bin for me. They just passed out menus and then they came around with tablecloths, and it looks like they're gonna be passing out drinks, and then it looks like we're gonna have our first main meal of the flight. We're gonna be having 2 meals. First is gonna be a lunch, and then we're gonna have breakfast right before we land. They just came around with drinks, and I got their signature citrus kabosu drink, and it comes in a real glass, which is impressive. There's a little bit of honey in this drink, and it smells really fragrant. It smells like yuzu, which is a Japanese citrus. I can't wait to give this a taste. Yuzu is one of my favorite citrus fruits. Oh, that is incredible. It is so smooth and fragrant, and it really quenches my thirst. Such a refreshing and light drink. You really get a strong taste of the yuzu flavor in there, and it's also not overly sweet, just a subtle sweetness. Before the meal, they brought out some small bites to eat. I'm going to be starting by trying their caramelized almonds and walnuts. The nuts are the perfect treat. They're just lightly sweetened on the outside, slightly caramelized, coated in a little bit of sugar, and it's just a nice, sweet, nutty bite. Next, we have the mozzarella cheese and marinated vegetables, and it looks like they use buffalo Italian mozzarella. Oh, the cheese is wonderful. It is buffalo mozzarella, and I love how it soaks up the pesto sauce. It just has this zesty, garlicky, basil-y flavor, and it's so tasty. This really does taste like something I'm eating at a really nice restaurant. And now I'm gonna go for a bite of squash. I believe it might be some sort of butternut squash, and I love that it's chilled because it makes it really refreshing. It tastes so fresh, perfectly cooked through as well. I can't believe I'm eating this quality food on an airplane. This sounds kind of silly, but I love their napkins because they're made with Ito-en green tea leaves, and Ito-en is a Japanese brand of bottled tea that I love. So I like that they're recycling and able to reuse stuff because it's made out of reused material and used tea leaves. I love the look of their menu as well because it definitely feels like you're eating in business class. On the back, they have pictures of the chefs they collaborate with in order to make the business class meals extra special. This is the snacks section of their menu, and what makes business class snacks different is they usually have one light dish that you can order, as well as a couple soups and a noodle dish. For your meal, they have a choice between international cuisine and Japanese cuisine, but since we're going to Japan, I had to go for the Japanese meal. They just brought out the appetizers that come with the meal, and so far they came out with 3 appetizers, so I think that's pretty impressive. I love the variety that comes with the Japanese meal option, which is the one that I ordered, so let's just get into it. First off, I'm going to start off with the sesame tofu, and it's topped with half a cherry tomato, wasabi, and what I believe to be okra. The sesame tofu just tastes elegant. It's very lightly flavored, just a little bit of soy and a hint of sesame flavor. And I love the texture. You just get the buttery, soft, delicate silken tofu, it's almost like texture. And then I love the wasabi on top. It adds a really nice kick to it. And then you get a fresh crunch and brightness from the okra and a bit of juiciness from the tomato. Now for the next appetizer, which is the smoked salmon and cheese. So it's some cheese covered in smoked salmon. The smoked salmon is fantastic. I love the soft, delicate texture of smoked salmon. It's so tender. You just get a burst of smoky flavor. And then as you bite into it, it just explodes in your mouth with a whole bunch of cream cheese, which is so rich and creamy, but it doesn't overwhelm the flavor of the salmon, which is really nice. Pairs perfectly. There's also a bit of what I believe to be pork on the side. It looks pretty nice. I completely forgot about it. It is the salt grilled duck. It is so tender and very lean, which I love. There's just a thin layer of fat on top for a little bit of flavor, and it does have a bit of gaminess, but I love it. It's just really meaty and flavorful. Now for the spinach, which is served with a little bit of salmon roe on top and some fresh crab meat. The spinach is fresh, and it definitely tastes a little bit different than regular spinach. I believe it's some sort of Japanese spinach. It just is a lot more subtle, tasting a little bit sweet. And you get even more sweetness from the crab meat, which is incredibly fresh. And then you get a really strong and intense sort of brininess from the salmon roe, which really adds a lot to this dish. This one is really special, and this is something unique you're only going to find on a Japanese airline like ANA. This dish is also served with a little bit of pumpkin, and I think that'll be pretty tasty. I definitely enjoy myself a good pumpkin, and everything about the food looks incredible because everything is just so vibrant and fresh looking, and you really taste it. I love to eat with my eyes and to taste with my mouth, and that is definitely what I'm doing. I really enjoyed a pumpkin. It reminds me of almost a cross between a squash and a sweet potato. Definitely has the texture of a sweet potato, just buttery, soft, delicate, rich, flavorful, and a little bit sweet. And it's definitely a lot milder, and it's great to go with some of the other food because you gotta have some variety, you know? And I think that's what's really special is all these appetizers, there's so much variety, and I haven't even tried everything yet. Our last appetizer is the seared yellowtail with wasabi dressing, and it looks so pretty, it's perfectly put together, so I hate to destroy it, but I'm gonna have to mix in the wasabi. Let's get a bite of our fish. It looks very lightly seared, almost as if it's sashimi, so this should be quite interesting. Wow, I just love seared fish so much. It really brings out the meaty flavor of the fish, and it's so clean tasting. It's really fresh, and I think the wasabi and the soy dressing definitely brightens it up a bit, especially when you get a bite of it with the lettuce. That's gonna make it even more refreshing. What a fantastic appetizer course. I don't usually eat seafood on a plane, but business class seafood is just different. It's so fresh, full of flavor, and tastes like I'm eating it at a restaurant right now. Just a restaurant thousands of feet in the air. The main course just came out and the food looks fantastic. And another thing I love about their service is they always make sure to give you plenty of time to eat your appetizers before bringing out the main course. There's so much food to eat. I love all the different dishes that come with this meal. There's even more that comes with the main course aside from the fish, which is the main part. So I'm gonna start off with the miso soup. What a great miso soup. So very clean tasting. I love the miso flavor. And there's little pieces of tofu as well as green onion in it. Another genius thing about their presentation is I was wondering what was in this closed container, and it's rice. And because it's closed, it's very hot, as well as the other food. Like the plate that the fish is on is really nice and warm. So I really appreciate that they're keeping their food warm. It's just A+ for presentation and taste. The main course is mackerel and ginger sauce, and I love the look of it. It looks really shiny to skin, and I love the pattern on it. Everything looks fresh, and again, it's still hot. So let's break into this and give it a taste. Wow, this just tastes luxurious. I love the fish. It is so fresh. It tastes like the steak of the ocean. The texture is really rich and meaty, which I love. So rich in flavor as well, especially from the skin, which adds a really nice fattiness to it and adds a lot of flavor. And I love the ginger sauce as well. It's so sweet and mild and gentle on your tongue. And because this is so saucy, it's gonna go great with the rice, just to get a little bit of extra flavor. Just brought out dessert. You have a choice between cheese, fruit, and a brownie. So I decided to go for the brownie, and it looks like there's some sort of cream sauce on the bottom. It might be some sort of condensed milk or melted butter, but we'll have to find out. What's not to love about a brownie? This one is so rich and chocolatey. It's like biting into a square of chocolate. It almost has that texture because it's so rich and creamy. And then there's just a little bit of whipped cream on the bottom just to add a little bit of extra flavor and sweetness. I love this. I also really like that it's drizzled with chocolate. A fantastic brownie. You know, as I eat it more, I realized that that cream on the bottom is almost like a whipped cream cheese. It might be mascarpone, and it really does add a lot. It adds a little bit of extra richness to the already rich brownie, and there's also a slight tang to it. So this definitely makes it taste a little bit gourmet compared to just a regular brownie. But either way, just a wonderful dessert. Wow, seriously, what a fantastic meal. All the food was delicious. Everything looked really aesthetic. I love how they prepared each dish. It looked very beautiful, and it tasted equally beautiful. This was just luxury in the sky. It really tasted like I was eating a 5-course meal in the sky. This definitely exceeded my expectations. I knew it would be delicious because it's business class, but this really, to me, tastes like what I always thought first class food would taste like. I think they just do a really good job on ANA. They really make an effort in choosing high quality ingredients, and I love the variety. Although each dish seemed quite small, I am stuffed. Like, I'm just so full, and I did my best to eat as much of it as possible, and I pretty much finished it all. So delicious. I gotta say that again, the service on ANA is fantastic. The flight attendants came around giving us the foreigner disembarkment cards, basically the card you have to fill out when you go through customs because we're coming internationally. And I really appreciate it since they did it right after our meal, which is only like 3-ish hours into our flight, so they're not waiting till the very end. And they also gave me a pen because I was about to ask my mom for a pen, and then they saw that, so the flight attendant gave me a pen. So I think that's just really nice. Now that we're well into our flight, I'd like to go over some of the amenities that they include in business class. First off, we got our pillow, and it seems nice and firm. I like that. It's enough to provide support, especially when you're on an airplane, but still not soft enough to be comfortable, because as you can see as I press my fingers into it, it definitely has a lot of give. Once you place your seat flat, they also give you a little cushion to lay out on top of your bed. And then of course you have a wonderful blanket. And now for in terms of the amount of leg room on the seat, it's incredible. I've never had this much room on an airplane seat. I can like stretch my legs out all the way. I am pretty short because I'm only 5'3", but still, even if you're a really tall person, this is more than enough leg room, and arm room for that matter. And I love that this seat has so many different areas where you can place your stuff. Obviously, there's a tray right off here to the right, and that is very useful. And then, of course, you have a little space underneath the seat in front of you to place your bag, and it's really large. Now let's test out some of the cool features of the seat, including lying flat. You've got your reading light button right here. Let's see if this turns on. Oh yes, it does turn on. Looks like there's another button directly on the reading light, so that's quite nice. Right on this little panel, we have most of the main controls. There's a do not disturb, and also a side table light, and this is the side table right here. I definitely love the light. Now let's see what this tracking thing does. That is quite nice. It just moves my seat a little bit forward and a little bit backward, just like so. That is quite nice, because I feel like if you scoot it back a little bit, it's going to give you a little bit more leg room. And then if you're a shorter person like me, there's nothing wrong with scooting it a little bit forward. Because look, it's just great. I love this. I'm not quite sure what the lumbar support button is, but let's press it carefully. Okay, the lumbar support button is really interesting. It basically changes the shape of the seat for your lower spine. You can't really tell on camera, but definitely can give you a little bit more support for your back, which I think is really helpful, and definitely good if you're a little bit older. Now let's see how much we can recline our seat. Wow, that is really quite impressive. My head is quite far back, and now you can see my leg. I definitely don't have as much leg room now because I put a bag here, but if you don't have a bag, I guess you have a little bit more room to stretch out your legs, but either way, this is the most leg room I've ever had on a flight. And now for the most exciting function is the upright bed. I'm a little scared for this one because I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm gonna press the button and hope for the best. Alright, let's do this. Let's see how this upright bed works. It definitely has a lot of movement, and it looks like it's moving pretty quickly. It's literally still moving. That is so nice. This bed literally lies down completely flat, and there is enough room for me to put my legs all the way in there. And it goes so low, I literally get hidden out of view, so I feel like it's kind of private because you have your own little area. Now let's try this bed out with this cushion they give you. I feel like it's almost a mini mattress, so I'm gonna lay that down on the seat and see how it looks. And that's actually relatively comfortable. It's not quite as soft as I would hope for it to be, but I would say it's about the quality of a good sofa bed. And I think that's incredible. You can even lay down flat on a plane. You have this much room, because I've never experienced this luxury before. So I'm definitely happy with it. And if you really need it, there's also a blanket right here. This is so soft and comfortable and comforting. However, it's quite warm in a plane. It's not super hot, but you definitely don't need a blanket, at least on the flight I'm taking. Right now, they kindly asked all passengers to close their windows because now is sleeping time, but I still want to show you the amenity kit. All those amenities come together and they're wrapped up in plastic, so let's just open this baby up. First of all, you have the ANA noise-canceling headphones. My dad has been using these for a while, and he said he likes them because they're pretty good quality, so this is definitely a plus. You also have some slippers if you want to get nice and cozy in bed, and I think these are pretty nice. They're a little bit thin, but they're nice and soft and fluffy for the sole of the shoe, which I think is pretty good. And now another layer of plastic covering the Cemendi's kit just to keep it nice and safe. So let's open this up. Wow, this is so luxurious. It's literally a leather bag, and it smells quite nice. I'm guessing that's because there's some sort of fragrance or perfume inside, so let's open it up. Inside there's a toothbrush and toothpaste, and this is also included in the bathroom, which is really helpful, so you definitely want you keeping your teeth clean. There's also an eye mask, and I absolutely love these. It's very hard for me to sleep anytime, even at home, without an eye mask. And they give you earplugs, which is very thoughtful because this plane is so loud, and there's not really much they can do about it, so all they can do is give you earplugs, and I think that'll do the trick. Here's some Yuzu face mist, and I adore Yuzu, as you could tell earlier when I was having that drink, so I'm gonna love this. Even better, some Yuzu lip balm, so I guess I could actually sort of taste this a bit, and I'm sure it tastes quite nice. That is all the amenities they give to you, and really, I think that should be plenty. Also provided are 3 outlets, which are a must in this day and age. This is the in-flight entertainment system. I thought it had a really nice sized screen. They had a decent number of movies, because they had around 100 different movies. Quick flight update, we're about 2 hours and 20 minutes from landing, and the flight attendants just turned the lights back on, and I believe they're about to start meal service, since they came around and gave everyone towelettes. The flight attendant just took my breakfast order. I'm so excited for breakfast. When I'm in economy, I'm usually not a huge fan of breakfast, just because I find it's not usually the best quality, but business class I cannot wait, especially because I got the Japanese breakfast. Our main course is going to be grilled amberjack tuna, so I think that's pretty cool. Alright, we do have a little bit of turbulence, but hopefully we make it through breakfast successfully. I'm going to start off with the tofu and beef. Alright, if I'm going to be 100% honest, this is the first item that I'm not a super big fan of. For me, it just tastes a little too bland. There's some fried tofu and beef, but it really doesn't taste salted or flavored at all. It's really mild tasting, so I think that might be more traditional, but I would honestly prefer a little bit more flavor. And also it's chilled, and I think this dish would actually taste a lot better heated up. And of course, I don't know why I didn't realize it earlier, but that mysterious wrap package, once again, is rice. Wow, this looks like a perfectly grilled piece of fish, so let's give this a taste. The skin's looking incredibly tasty again. Just kidding, that was a marinated shiitake mushroom and soy sauce, and that also tasted really good. It had a really nice bouncy texture. It really soaked up all that sauce, so I kind of have an idea of what the fish might taste like, because I already know what that sauce tastes like. So now for the fish. This is a high-quality Japanese breakfast done perfectly. This is like a stereotypical Japanese breakfast. Got a little bit of miso soup, you got some fish, and grilled rice. And again, they just do it so well. The other thing with their fish is it's so moist, and I really love the intense flavor of it. And I really love how it soaks up all the sauce just like a sponge. The fish is kind of the opposite of that beef and tofu dish. It's quite on the salty side, but it goes great with a little bit of rice, which cuts the saltiness. This was a really solid business class breakfast. This is easily the best breakfast I've ever had on an airplane. Not even close. I just finished that meal and I absolutely demolished it. I finished every last morsel because all that breakfast was so delicious. And of course, I'm going to be ending the meal and our flight off with a cup of hot green tea. But this is so hot, it's literally burning my fingers, so I'm going to have to save that for a few minutes. That is such a smooth blend of green tea, nice and floral, and not too bitter, just subtle. And I like that there's no sugar in it, just because it makes it a lot more refreshing.
We expect to arrive at Narita International Airport in about 1 hour.
As our flight is coming to end, I'll let you know my final thoughts on the overall experience once we land. Now for my overall thoughts on the flight. Lounge access is a great perk, so I really appreciate that ANA offered access. They did give access to United Polaris Lounge. It's rated the best business class lounge in the world. However, I thought there are better lounges. One example is you get to use the ANA lounge at Narita Airport, and that lounge I've heard is fantastic. I thought the seat was decent as well. I thought it could be a little bit softer, but I feel like the seat was a bit worn out since I was flying on an 8-year-old plane, and the legroom was fantastic. I love the fact that you can lay flat because I never experienced it before. Service was great as well. All the flight attendants were super friendly and helpful, and let's not forget the fact that I was upgraded to business class for just $450. Of course, if you know me well, my favorite part of flight easily was the food, because this was 5-star dining in the sky. I loved the freshness of their ingredients and the thoughtfulness they put into each dish, making it look very aesthetic and beautiful. Simply fine dining. Now for the story of how I was upgraded to business class for just $450 a person, or a 60% discount. I originally booked tickets for premium economy class, and when I showed up to the airport, it was super early. I love getting to the airport early, and I got there 2 hours before the baggage drop even opened. Despite this, I only got in line for the baggage drop 15 minutes before it opened, since I wanted to sit, and thank God I did, because immediately afterwards, people got in line right behind me. When I got to the counter, the ticket agent asked me if I had checked in, and I told him that I did, and he probably checked and saw that I was one of the first people to check in for the flight, but his check-in starts 24 hours in advance, so I was basically waiting for the site, and I might have even been the first person to check in. Also along those lines, I'm a returning ANA customer since I've flown ANA once in the past, and I use ANA miles, so you could probably see that I have that account set up. And I booked my tickets for this flight months ago. I was one of the first people to book seats on this plane. The night before, I checked the position of my premium economy seats on the seat map, and I saw that there was a lot of open seats in business class, so I think they might have wanted to fill them. After checking my passport and boarding pass, he leaned in close, and I knew he was about to say something important. He said, "Today I have a special sale for you. You can upgrade to business class for just $450 a person. What do you say about that?" The coincidence is that I joked around with my dad the night before about upgrading to business class, and we were like, what if we are offered a $1,000 or $900 upgrade to business class? And we both said that would definitely be worth it. That would probably be as much as we're willing to pay. And then my dad said, who knows, maybe we can get it for $500. And I told him, there's no way, that's so unrealistic. But it turns out $450 a person, an even better deal is what we were offered, so we had to take it immediately. When we told the ANA agent, he seemed genuinely happy for us. He said that you're gonna love the seat. It's so comfortable and it's a really great experience. Now you might be wondering if I thought business class was worth the price, and if I was paying out of pocket. No way, because it's 4 times the price of an economy ticket, and that is just out of my budget. However, considering the $450 upgrade I got, it was so worth it. I would do it 1,000,000 times over again, and if they offered me a $1,000 upgrade, that's probably the most I would pay. However, if you have the money, or if you're using miles, ANA is definitely the airline to fly on if you want to try out business class, especially if you're flying to Japan, as I think they're the best option if you're taking the airline's business class to Japan, just because of their great hospitality and amazing food.
Thank you for flying with ANA and our Star Alliance partners. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Anyways, I really hope you all enjoyed today's video and found it helpful. Make sure if you did to give it a like, and also make sure to subscribe. During my 2.5-week trip to Japan, I record a video every single day, so make sure to stay tuned for those. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video of my first night in Japan.